1, 2, 3, 4. One, two. 1, 2. 1. Welcome, flutes. That was Bohemian Rhapsody 79 to the end, played by yours truly on the flute. Let's break down how you should be practicing that. The first thing I recommend, well, firstly, I like to think of this as a section broken up into two smaller sections. 79 to 88 is one section, and then 88 to the end is a second one. So when I try to practice this, I like to play a little warm up before each of those sections. That's going to help me play both of them. If you look at 79, you notice that you have some 16th notes there. So the warm-up I like to play is just in the key of E flat major, I play do, re, mi, fa, sol with this rhythm. And you may be wondering why in E flat major, if the key signature is B flat. Well, look around. You don't really see a whole lot of A naturals as much as you see A flats for most of this section, 79 to the end. You do see some A naturals, but for the most part, it's kind of abnormal. This section really does almost modulate into the key of E flat major. So try that out. Up and down. Do, 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 re, 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 mi, 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 fa, 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 so, 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 fa, 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 mi, 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 re, 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 do. This is going to help you a lot when you start working on right at 79. Interestingly, that rhythm is not a whole lot different from the rhythm that we just played in the warm-up. Let's break it down for a minute. First things first, count the subdivision with a metronome while you're tapping your foot. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. Now, think back to that rhythm video that I put out last week. Remember, whatever happens at the beginning of a measure is on beat 1 no matter what. So if you look at measure 79, you have an eighth rest. That means that that is on beat 1. So you know for a fact, in 1E and a, 1 is being taken up by that eighth rest. Now, how many 16th notes, right? Because 1E and a is a set of 16th notes. How many of those fit into the space of an eighth rest? 1E, 2. 2 of those subdivisions will fit into that eighth rest. So if your eighth rest is taking up 1E, that means that those 16th notes must be and a, and a. The counts for 79 should be and a 2, and a 4. De to do, de to do. Try saying that. What I want you to do is say it, play it on a concert B flat, play it on the notes. So something like this. De to do, de to do. If you can do that, then you can play the part. To practice it though, start it out a little slower because it is a little bit tricky to get your fingers going from E flat up to F up to B flat, right? Especially for me, the fact that I have to pick up fingers and then put down my first finger at the beginning there is really tricky. Moving right along, look at measure, I believe that would be 81. You have some 16th notes in there too, and that's scary. But notice how they're beamed together. Remember back to that rhythm video, beaming will tell you what a beat is. So let's look at measure 81 and look at what's surrounding that weird beaming of an eighth note and two 16th notes. 1 quarter note, 2 quarter notes, you see the figure, and then a 4th quarter note. That means that that figure has to be taking up one whole beat. And if you know what I said in the beaming video, you know that that's going to be true. It does take up one whole beat. As a matter of fact, that rhythm is the same exact thing that you played at 79, except instead of resting on the downbeat, when your foot goes down, you are playing an F. So let me play 81 for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it almost feels the same. Do-da-da, do-da-dee, do-da-dee. Feels very similar. Moving right along now, the rest of this is just a matter of counting. So I'm going to skip ahead now to 88. Let me know if you have any questions on 79 to 88, and I would be happy to help you out. But let's move along to 88. Different section. So let's do a different warm-up. What I love to do is a really strong E flat major scale up 2 octaves. Some things that I think about when I do this scale are, what are my corners doing? Are they firm? They should be. I think about using more air as I get higher and making sure that air comes from down here in my stomach, supporting. I also like to think that while my corners are firm, this part right here, my aperture where the air is coming out, is staying flexible enough to do what it's got to do to get to those notes. So let's play that concert E flat major scale, 2 octaves, nice and slow. No articulations, just completely slurred. Don't even use your tongue. And the reason for that is because at 88, most of this is going to be slurred, and it's up in that upper register. But if you can keep the same kind of looseness that you have to have in the lower register when you're playing in the upper register, your notes have a beautiful tone, which is why I love that exercise. It'll also help you notice the notes that are going to be troublesome for you when you're playing at 88. For example, with me on the flute, C is about where I start to break. So I know that when I get to a C, I need to really think about engaging my core and making sure the air is really moving. So to practice this part, what I would recommend is just going measure by measure, note by note. Just practice note to note and break it down into measures. The other thing I would really recommend is circling the things that look weird. Remember, we're thinking about the E flat major scale here. So circle anything that isn't in the E flat major scale. If I'm looking at measure 91, there's an E natural. That's weird. I need to know that that is weird. So make a little circle on that and it'll make a big help. Another thing to take a look at, part of why I spent so much time working on improvisation with y'all and working on those tonic and dominant chords is not just so that you can improvise using them, but also so that you can notice them when they are in a tune. Look at measure 88. E flat, G, B flat, Do, Mi, So. You know that pattern. It's your tonic arpeggiation, your tonic triad. Look at measure 89. Do, Mi, So at the very beginning. Again, same thing. You know that pattern. Look at measure 90. D, Do, D, F, B flat, T, Re, So. That's your dominant triad. It's there. If you know these chords, these tonic and dominant chords, it's going to help you learn your music faster too. So notice the patterns that you recognize, circle the things that are weird. Again, also, I think circling big leaps is also a big thing to check out. So if you're going from like in 90, B flat down to D, that's a little awkward. B flat to E flat, So down to Do. We do that more often. So I don't think about that one quite as much. If you do, make sure you circle it, whatever's going to help you. But especially at 90, So to T, B flat to D, that's a little bit weird. So I would circle that one. So notice the patterns that you like, circle the things that are weird, take it measure by measure. And what I mean by that is pick a measure, work through it. I'm going to work through measure 91 because that one always gets me with that E natural. part there, that's really just the scale, beats 3 and 4. So, fa, fa, mi. It's the first part of that measure that gives me trouble. So I'm going to just focus that one. Once you can get something really comfortable under your fingers, then start putting multiple parts together. Here's measures 88 all the way to the 2/4 section. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you notice, there were a couple spots in there where my sound cut out. That is because I wasn't using enough air or because I was thrown off by what my fingers were doing. Another thing to think about is taking really quick breaths. This section is tough because you're supposed to be playing very legato, very connected, very slurred through most of this. So finding a good place to take a quick breath is hard, especially at this tempo with all these eighth notes. I recommend taking a breath whenever the slurs end, because slurs can also be thought of as phrase markings. Phrases are like musical sentences. It's a little weird if you breathe in the middle of a sentence. If you notice what I just said, phrases are like musical sentences. I took a breath before I moved along. Pay attention to your slurs. Take a breath when it makes sense at the end of those slurs. So again, listen for when I take a breath. I'll make it very clear and very obvious. 88. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. I was very sloppy with my fingers. I should be practicing this more. But right there, after that G, da, do, da, da, a big, big, big breath. And it's got to fit into a very small place. So think about what we've worked on in the past, what you've worked on in the past with breathing gym. Fill up as fast as you can. Do, da, 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 da. And above all else at that section, it's gotta sing. It's gotta sound like you are singing using the flute as your voice. And if you do that, you're going to make an incredible impression on our audience and really tell them that we're wrapping this up. Things are starting to end and everything is sounding really good. So that is your lesson on 79 to the end of Bohemian Rhapsody. Please let me know if you have any questions, and happy practicing. Best of luck. I'm sure you're going to do an amazing job. Just remember all of these tips from this video and you're going to have an incredible time practicing.